Well, the fountains are looking beautiful. The Rangers game didn't look quite as pretty as the fountains at Kauffman Field did tonight, though, as the Rangers lose. 5-2 was the final. Kansas City gets its first win of the season against your Texas Rangers on getaway day, as the team is now headed towards Minnesota. Hi there, and welcome into the Fox Sports Studios. This is John Radigan along with Steve Busby. It's Rangers Live, and the good news is the Rangers didn't lose the series, but they didn't win it either. And when you get Michael Young on third base with one out in the sixth and a leadoff base hit to open the seventh, you've just got to do a better job of picking guys like that up.
Yeah, I think the Michael Young situation in the third inning or sixth inning really changed things around, John. I thought the Rangers had the opportunity there to change the momentum in the game, and they had the big part of the batting order coming up. Couldn't get the job done today, and you have to give a lot of credit, I think, to Luke Hochevar in that situation, getting both Kinsler and Guerrero with the go-ahead run at third base.
Yeah, and that is where we want to begin things with Josh Lewin and Tom Grieve, who are standing by in Kansas City and got to watch a guy pitch a pretty good game today, guys.
Yeah, the former Fort Worth Cat getting it done, showing everybody why he was a one-time #1 pick in the country.
Yeah, we've seen it before in this park from Hochevar. Last year he struck out 13 against the Rangers in 7 innings. Today he had good stuff. You have to give him credit. He was throwing his fastball in the mid-90s. He had a 91-mile-an-hour cutter. He had 4 or 5 strikeouts in the game. He kept the ball down. The Rangers had a couple of times in the game where they had back-to-back hits and scored a couple of runs, but for the most part, Hochevar was in command. 8 innings, no walks, only 2 runs. Tip your hat to Hochevar. It was all about the pitcher today.
Just 3 weeks ago, lasted only 2 2/3 against the Rangers and was walking a lot of guys, but not in this one. Kansas City wins at 5-2, guys. We send it back to you.
All right, guys, we appreciate it much. We'll talk to you in Minnesota. That's where the Rangers are headed next. But let's talk about the Rangers starting pitcher today, Scott Feldman. We talked about him in the pregame show and how it seemed like he was making sort of some gradual progress. The Toronto start showed some signs. His last start against Baltimore. And then even in this start, I think progress being made, even though he didn't obviously get a win today.
Yeah, there was progress, John. I think you have to say that this is the best that Scott Feldman has pitched in his last 5 or 6 outings. The only problem Scott had today was he could not execute the shutdown inning. After the Rangers had scored, both times the Rangers had scored, the Royals came right back and either tied the game or took the lead. And that's something Scott will look back and say, gee, you know, a pitch here and a pitch there. Had a chance to tip the game in our favor. Couldn't quite get that done. But I think overall, you know, this is only the 5th time now in the last dozen games that a Rangers starter has gotten into the 7th inning. So tip your hat to Scott in getting that job done. That's not a very highly set bar, however, for Rangers starters. You'd like that to increase significantly.
Yeah, that certainly needs to be the norm and not the exception, which it has been for the last several. And it's ironic because last year Scott Feldman was so good on the road. He won 12 of his 17 away from Rangers ballpark last year. He hasn't gotten off to that kind of start this year, although don't blame it on his pickoff move. When he tries to pick somebody off at third, he can do it.
Yeah, well, you know, you get enough people on. The problem is most guys don't have enough practice. They don't get enough runners on to work this all the time. But pretty well executed there, and a good job by Elvis Andrus when he got that throw to make a quick relay back to the plate, the third and first move. Fortunately, he got Podsednik going from first base, and that was the key to that play. But Scott Feldman using his head and getting it out any way you can.
And this is something that was a little more common back in the days that you were pitching, and in fact you guys had some success with your Royals teams back in the day.
Well, we did. I came up with that move actually in college, and it all was an upshot of me learning how to pick hitters or hitting runners off third base. So I developed a pretty good move over there, and then the natural progression for me anyway was to fake to third and throw back to first when you have runners at the corners. But in 1 year, we got at either third or first 15 different base runners. So, you know, like I said, I had a lot of folks on, so I had a lot of opportunity to practice it.
A lot of practice.
But, it saves you a lot. It saves you a run here and there, and it can make a difference in ball games.
Managers will always tell you 15 outs. Those are 15 outs that you can't have back. 15 guys that weren't able to score in that case. So, anyway, we've got more coming up. Rangers Live rolls on. It was a 5-2 loss today. Not a bad performance by Scott Feldman. We talk about the highlights and work the post game as well. More analysis too. It's all coming up. Rangers Live.
Rangers Live is brought to you by Suzuki and the amazing new Kashashi Sport Sedan.
Fox Sports Southwest is the place to watch Rangers baseball. Catch Michael Young and the Rangers when they hitch a ride to the Windy City to take on Paul Konerko and the White Sox. Rangers, White Sox on Fox Sports Southwest. Log on to the new FoxSportsSouthwest.com. Local teams, local sports, local connection. FoxSportsSouthwest.com.
Rangers Live is brought to you by TxDOT. Officers are ticketing drivers and passengers who aren't buckled up, even in the back seat. Click it or ticket. A message from TxDOT.
Hey, don't forget you can vote for your favorite Ranger as an All-Star. Send them to the game in Los Angeles, California this year. The game's on July the 13th. It's the Midsummer Classic, and Michael Young, Ian Kinsler, Josh Hamilton, Vlad Guerrero, Nelson Cruz, they've all been somewhat heroic in previous trips to All-Star games. So let's make sure we send any or all of them again this year. Go to TexasRangers.com and cast your vote. It's an unalienable right. The Rangers are taking a tour through the American League Central, and they start in Kansas City. Now it's on to Minnesota, and they finish in Chicago. They want to establish on the road something close to what they've established at home. They've become one of the best home teams in baseball. On the road, not so much, at least not yet. Here they are, though, in Kansas City. We pick it up in the second inning. Nelson Cruz, he's on base with a two-out double. A struggling Justin Smoke at the plate, and the rookie comes through. A single to left center, good enough to bring Cruz home, and it's 1-0 Texas. Smoke's 12th RBI of the season. Bottom of the inning, the Royals have a runner at third, 2 out. Scott Posednik hits a slow roller to third. Michael Young with a tough barehanded play to throw. A little errant. Smoke can't hold on. The error is charged to Young, and we're tied at 1. Before the next pitch, Scott Feldman fakes to third and gets Posednik in a rundown. They get the out at home. Old trick actually works.
Steve Busby, take a bow. You told us that play sometimes works, and Feldman just got out of the inning with it.
Oh, Steve Busby's too humble to take a bow, but it did work. Top of the fifth, Posednik, and he hits it right back at Feldman. Nifty little play from the mound. He assisted on all 3 outs in the 5th inning. Top of the 6th, Elvis Andrus is stealing from first, but Michael Young on the hit and run blasts it to the right field wall. He legs out a triple. Elvis obviously scores. Young ties Ruben Sierra for the franchise lead in career triples. Same score in the 6th inning when Billy Butler unties it with a blast off of Feldman. No doubt about this one, his 5th of the season. Kansas City would add another run to make it 4-2. Derek Holland comes out of the bullpen for the Rangers, gets a little work because he's missing a start with all these off days. Gives up the RBI double to Willie Bloomquist. Albert Cayespo comes around to score an insurance run. 5-2 Royals. Rangers go 1-2-3 in the 9th and lose it by that 5-2 count. So they'd gotten off the schneid on the road yesterday against the Kansas City Royals, but they lose today's game and remain 5 games over 500. They remain in first place in the American League West, and now they're headed to Minnesota before they have an off day there before beginning a 3-game series in the new Target Field in Minnesota on Friday night. John Radigan and Steve Busby back here now, and Buzz, I guess you got to talk about Michael Young. He extends the hitting streak to 12 games, and you know it's almost like a broken record, the things we say about Michael Young. He was Michael Young again today. It's a tragedy that they stranded him at third. He was there with 1 out in the 6th.
Yeah, and as I said, John, that could have been the turning point in the ballgame as far as momentum shift, and as it was, it might have been the turning point, but in the Royals' favor. But Michael Young just driving the ball to the gap in right center field, and you know they had to name that Young's alley because he hits that ball through that gap as much, if not more, than anybody in the game. And turning on the Jets, going to third base, put himself there with 1 out, and the Rangers just couldn't get him home. But boy, Michael Young climbing up the leaderboard in Rangers history for hits, for today triples, multi-hit games, you name it. Michael Young is on that list, and he's going to be number 1 in virtually every category that everything but power, I think, in Ranger annals. Tying Ruben Sierra today, 44 triples, and you know, you don't think of Michael Young as being the kind of guy that's going to hit a lot of triples, but there it is, right in front of you.
Yeah, and yesterday he moved into second place, actually into a tie with Rafael Palmeiro for the most doubles on the team. He trails only Pudge in that category, and that's another one that he will certainly have an opportunity to break. He will certainly break this record. Ruben Sierra has the same number as him, and then during this 12-game hitting streak, the numbers are awfully good. 428 batting average, hitting with a little power, a couple of home runs in that span, but 9 RBIs, the almost 700 slugging percentage, and 8 extra base hits during that time. He just comes through in so many different ways, because you really do think of him as kind of a singles hitter, a guy who will go with the pitch, and a guy who's just a 300 hitter and gets his 200 singles a year. A lot more of them than singles.
Yeah, and it's very important, too, because Michael Young has the ability now, with the experience that he has gained, to recognize the pitch selections that is being used against him. And he'll look for a ball that he can drive out of the ballpark if the situation dictates that. If the situation dictates it, like today, he'll look for a ball that was on the inner part of the plate, actually, and he was able to drive it through the right center field alley, so going the other way. And, you know, the way Michael Young is swinging the bat right now, he is just a tough out. And we've seen this in Ranger land for a long time, but I think everybody else throughout baseball recognizes that, and they pitch very carefully to Michael in game situations when a base hit, an extra base hit, can beat you.
That's why you need to vote for him for the All-Star game. Don't forget to mark Michael Young on your ballot when you're voting for All-Stars. And it's unfortunate because he did tie the score in the 6th inning with his triple. Elvis Andrus came around to score, but then in the bottom of the 6th inning, the Royals came right back, and they got to Scott Feldman a little bit finally in that inning. Scott had been pretty good until then. He offered up the leadoff home run to Butler.
Well, I'm not a big fan. I don't criticize pitch selection very much, and I'm not going to criticize it here, but when you're trying to come inside to a hitter with a fastball, you're better off getting that pitch up a little bit unless you're throwing a sinker. And Feldman got that ball down to Billy Butler where he could drop the head of the bat on it. And then things did kind of unravel. Second time that Scott Feldman hit Guillen in the opposite field base hit, and all of a sudden the double play is removed with a wild pitch and the sac fly. And that, with Luke Hochevar pitching as well as he did today, that pretty much spelled the end the Ranger chances. Hochevar going 8 innings, and then Soria picking up the 1-2-3 ninth for his save.
Yeah, so it was a tough one for the Rangers. That sometimes you just tip your cap and say, nice job by Luke Hochevar. It was unfortunate, though, because the Rangers, as late as the 6th inning, were tied at 2 runs apiece. Lots more coming up as we roll on with Rangers Live. We continue to wrap this one up. We'll talk about it. Also, we will look ahead to the Minnesota series. It's all coming up. It's Rangers Live.
Rangers Live is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Try Jack's new grilled breakfast sandwich on grilled artisan bread with a cup of new Cognac Classic coffee.
Rivals clash at Wrigley as the Cardinals battle the Cubs. Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Budweiser. This week, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific.
Tonight on the Final Score presented by Burger King, the playoffs continue as the Magic try to avoid elimination as they host the Celtics in Game 5. Plus, 2 of the top teams in the AL battle it out as the world champion Yankees take the field against the Twins in Minneapolis. And the 2010 French Open continues as the world's best players try to advance to the next round. For all the day's highlights in 30 minutes, it's the Final Score.
Lunch with the Rangers, Thursday on Fox Sports Southwest.
Rangers Live is brought to you by Loveza.
Hey, don't forget to visit FoxSportsSouthwest.com for all your Rangers news and interviews, even when they're on the road. Plus, you find out the top receivers in the Big 12. A Q&A with SMU head football coach June Jones after a great year, which saw them go back to the bowl games. And NFL owners are excited about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys hosting the 2011 Super Bowl. It's all there. It's FoxSportsSouthwest.com. Some other afternoon baseball on this getaway day. We take you to this one in Cleveland. It's Mark Burley called for a balk by first base umpire Joe West. Ozzie Guillen isn't a fan of the call, and he gets tossed. Bottom of the 3rd now. It's the next inning. Burley is called for his 2nd balk. He throws his glove to the ground in disgust, and he is thrown from the game. Burley has to be held back here. As you see, he gets a little fired up by Angel Hernandez, but he ultimately takes a seat. Bottom of the 9th, 5-4 Chi Sox. Bases loaded for Russell Branyan, and he pops out to left field. White Sox survive the 3-run 9th inning and hold on to win it by a final of 5-4. the final in that one. Burley just a little too demonstrative, I guess, in his dissatisfaction with that second balk call.
Yeah, you got to hang on to your glove. Joe West is notorious for having kind of a short fuse, so don't make him mad. And apparently, Ozzie had already said the magic words to him in the inning earlier, so you've been leave him alone after that.
Let sleeping dogs lie there. He decided not to do that. Strange road trip for the Rangers because they have a lot of off days, including one tomorrow. They had one just before this series began. They'll have another one later in the road trip, but they go to Minnesota next.
On to Minnesota. Minnesota is sitting atop that Central Division, playing good baseball. Of course, they'll be in their new home at Target Field, and Rangers' first opportunity to take a look there. Then it's on after another day off in Minnesota, on to Chicago and face the White Sox. And the Rangers now looking at playing two of the better teams, the best team and the second best team actually, right now in the Central Division, playing well against Central Division so far. The Rangers are 11-5 against the AL Central, so hopefully they can keep that up and win both series and come on back home on a nice little streak.
Yep, they split the series with the Kansas City Royals, 1 game apiece, although the Rangers still lead the season series 5-1. That is going to do it for Buzz, but we've got more coming up. Rangers Live rolling on from the Fox Sports studios. Stay with us. Hey, don't forget about our Triple Play program. It's Sunday, June the 6th at 10 o'clock, brought to you by the Park Place dealerships. And it is a great under the lights. It's a lot of fun, that Triple Play event each and every year. Lots of money raised for charity and tons of fun had by all. Please join us Sunday, June the 6th at 10 p.m. It'll air again after that, but that's the original airing of our Texas Rangers Triple Play Under the Lights. Time for a great hands play of the game. It's brought to you by the Brown Hand Center, and this is the play that ended the second inning for the Texas Rangers. A great fake by Scott Feldman, and then he throws to second. They get Sednick in a rundown, but actually end up getting Kendall at the plate on a great heads-up play there by Elvis Andrus, and that ended the second inning. You need great hands to make a play like that. That's why it's the Great Hands play of the game, brought to you by the Brown Hand Center. Here's the American League West standings. Rangers still with a 2.5 game lead over the A's. The Angels are 4.5 back. Seattle struggling again today, losing to the Tigers today, and they are 8 games back. Let us take you back now to Kansas City, where we will hear from Luke Hochevar, the former Fort Worth Cat, who gets the victory tonight and who got a little surprised during the post-game interview.
Back-to-back great performances for you. Just talk about coming out, rebounding from that complete game and what you did today.
Just wanted to come back out and, repeat it, be aggressive in the strike zone. They have a good lineup and, just attack the strike zone, put the pressure on them and let our defense work. And, we played great defense today and swung the bats well. So
you got to look at how dangerous this offense can be last night. And, of course, you were sick down in Texas. But just how important was it to keep that ball on the ground and also no walks?
Yeah, like I said, it's a good lineup and full power, and so just keeping the ball down and still being aggressive in the strike zone and going right after them.
How about your comfort level right now? I know Bob McClure has talked about it. It takes a pitcher a few years, but here you are with back-to-back great games. There it is. Luke Hochevar getting the first pie in the face, and there are about 9 Royals standing at the end of the dugout, so I had a feeling that was coming. Here comes the towel. Let's let Luch get that off. All right. Well, that burns. I know that's not good.
Yeah, that kind of burns a little bit.
We're going to give him a second. All right. Will you take the pie in the face for the 8-inning win?
Every time.
All right. Well, Luke, great job today, and I think I'm going to let you go clean that off. Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
In the anatomy of the pie in the face, I got to like the fact that they followed the guy all the way from the dugout. I also thought the Royals did a pretty good job waiting, let him get almost all the way through the interview. His guard is down. We've seen several of them at Rangers Ballpark this year, and they do it right away, and everybody's head is on a swivel. But in this case, the Royals executed that thing to perfection. They did pretty well in the game today, too. 5-2 was the final. Rangers lose it on the road. They get a day off tomorrow, and then 3 in Minnesota. We, of course, will see you Tuesday night as the next time we will be together with you. That will be from Chicago. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time right here on Fox Sports Southwest.